I'm Matt Bishar with REIT.com here in Boca Raton, Florida for REITWise 2014, NAREIT's Law, Accounting, and Finance Conference. I'm joined by Mark Borges, Principal with Compensia. Mark, thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Matt.
Here at REITWise, you were on a panel on Say on Pay. What steps do you recommend that a REIT take to win that Say on Pay vote?
Well, I think today it's important to plan ahead. In the past, you could simply file your proxy statement, attend your annual meeting, and see what happened. But today you have to treat it more like a campaign, which means two things to me. First and foremost, you have to know as you're preparing your materials for your annual meeting what your potential vulnerabilities are from the institutional investor community. And you need to draft your disclosure to anticipate and respond to those potential vulnerabilities. In other words, I think it helps to put your best foot forward with respect to why you took the particular compensation actions and made the specific decisions that you did. The other thing that's key is to plan ahead for any contingency. Hopefully, you will know going into your annual meeting what the likely outcome of the vote is going to be and what the likely recommendations are going to be from the proxy advisory firms. But in case the situation changes, it's better to have an action plan in hand as to how you're going to respond so that within that short period between the time that the proxy advisory firms issue their recommendations and your annual meeting, you have the ability to reach out to your key investors and to give them your side of the story.
And as it relates to executive compensation, are there any trends or best practices you see emerging?
Well, I think it's really changed in terms of how companies present their compensation program since the advent of Say on Pay. Today it all comes down to being able to demonstrate pay for performance. And typically what that means is that you're going to have to show in your discussion of your executive compensation plan the correlation between how you've performed financially year over year and the compensation that you've paid to your top executives. Now, a lot of companies out there are using a variety of techniques to do that, but I think the key thing is to make that your central message, address it right up front, and use a combination of narrative and graphic disclosure to present your strongest case.
And lastly, are there any pitfalls that companies should be wary of as they structure executive compensation?
Well, sure. I think, again, kind of relating back to the Say on Pay vote, it's really put an emphasis on performance-based compensation. So I think you have to make sure that you've thought through how you're going to set up your short-term and long-term incentives. Make sure that you've selected measures or metrics that you're going to use for determining the amount of those incentives and be in a position where you can explain how they drive your business and how they help you create sustainable long-term shareholder value. And then be in a position to explain in any given year why you either achieved or were above or below the particular targets that you've set for the year.
Mark, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
For more from REITWise 2014, be sure to visit REIT.com.